with Andy Serkis at the lead, Ape Strong. Hey everybody, what's going on? Today we're going to be talking about War for the Planet of the Apes. Look, I've been a fan of this series since 2011 when Rise came out, and then Dawn was a really good movie too. And, I was really looking forward to this one. This movie begins when Caesar offers peace to the human army that's trying to hunt him. The humans strike back and deal the apes significant losses. This causes Caesar to go on a personal mission to hunt down the leader of the army and end his life once and for all. First things first, those that love the other two movies are going to love this one as well. That being said, those that didn't love the other two movies are probably not going to get much out of this one, and it's not going to change their mind. War has the same slow, methodical pace that Rise and Dawn had, which is good because you get great character development, plots have time to set themselves up, and of course the payoff is wonderful. I love a good slow-burning movie with a fantastic payoff, and while I was afraid that this movie might not be able to do it because it did it so well in Rise and Dawn, I thought maybe it would lose some steam. It didn't. They continued to do a great job setting up everything, getting you invested in the characters, giving you a plot that matters, and then giving you a payoff that really works. Now, when you hear the title War for the Planet of the Apes, a lot of people are going to be expecting maybe kind of what happened at the end of Dawn, which honestly, in a way, if that would have happened again, I would have been fine with it. But I think it would have felt repetitive from Dawn. So, I kind of wanted something different. War doesn't mean exactly what you think it's going to mean in this movie, and honestly, that's a really good thing. Of course, I have to mention that Andy Serkis is still amazing as Caesar. I don't know how the man does it, but he continues to just amp up his performance, and it gets better and better each time. He was amazing in Rise. I was like, oh, he can't top that in Dawn, and then he topped it in Dawn. I thought for this one, well, he can't top Dawn. Well, he did. Andy Serkis is still amazing in this role, and honestly, I can't believe I'm saying this, and maybe I'll think differently later, and maybe I'll go back and forth, but his performance in this movie rivals, if not tops, his performances as Gollum. He's only gotten better with the motion capture performances. And I know people say, well, there's CG covering him and everything. He still has to give the facial expressions. He still has to use his voice to give different meanings and feelings to scenes. So it's not just all CG, even though the CG in this movie continues to be amazing. I don't know how all movies don't look like this movie when it comes to creatures if they're going to use CG. Andy Serkis continues to get better. And, I know they don't want to give motion capture actors, props during award shows because, well, it's not a full performance. But maybe they should come up with a special award for motion capture performances or something because, or for odd performances, like just say voiceover performances or something, because I think these actors deserve it. It's like they're getting no credit for putting on amazing performances. There's actors whose face is on screen that can't do diddly squat to convince me of things. Yeah, Andy Serkis convinces me that he's a freaking ape. A freaking talking ape with real emotions and real concerns and real feelings with just the use of mocap. When it comes to the character arcs of Caesar, they're dealing with two different things. First is the revenge plot. As I mentioned earlier, the apes are dealt significant losses when the humans attack, and Caesar has finally had enough, and he's going to put an end to it. And it's what you think it's going to be. Caesar's getting angry, and he's ready to just lay waste to the humans. He offered them peace. They keep rejecting him. He's just had it. And this also plays into the second plot, which is he's dealing still with killing another ape in the last movie when he killed Koba. And I'll talk a little bit more about Koba in a bit, but he's dealing with that, and he's also having visions and dreams that he's becoming Koba because he wants revenge on the humans. And this once again plays into Andy Serkis's ability to just tell these stories through CG, and the way they handle these stories are amazing. Now onto the human side, let's talk about Woody Harrelson's Colonel McCullough. One of the small issues I had with Don was Gary Oldman's character. Though I liked him, he felt a little generic. Now, Woody Harrelson's Colonel McCullough in War, he's a lot more complicated. He's a lot more damaged. And in a way, this makes him a lot more sympathetic. His character is almost a perfect rival for Caesar. And there are scenes in this movie where, I mean, just the look on Caesar's face after, reacting to Woody Harrelson's character. I mean, you will buy this rivalry. They are almost two sides of the same coin. There's some scenes in this that, while they do show favoritism to the apes most of the time, there are scenes in this where, the humans are, not totally wrong, and then there's scenes in this where the apes aren't totally right. And Woody Harrelson's portrayal as the quote-unquote villain will definitely make you buy in that, things aren't as black and white, but this whole thing, this whole war, this whole situation is gray. Next up is Bad Ape, played by Steve Zahn. By far, one of the best additions to this series. This is a very dark series, as most of you know. And this movie is a very dark movie. That being said, Steve Zahn's Bad Ape, who is a talking chimpanzee, he adds a little bit of lightheartedness to when scenes are getting really dark. You get dug into this deep, dark hole, and then he kind of brings you out a little bit by making a joke or saying something funny or doing something funny. And then, of course, you go back into the deep, dark hole. Like I said, it doesn't totally balance it out, but it keeps this movie from being way too dark. This leads us to what I don't want to really call a flaw to this movie, but it was something that kind of surprised me, is that there weren't more talking apes by now. This whole series takes place over a decade. I think it's like 12 or 13 years. And you would have thought the apes, or more apes in Caesar's tribe, would have been able to start talking by now. And that was a lot of comments I heard from a lot of the people that saw this the same day I did, was they were just kind of surprised that there wasn't more talking from the apes. Still a lot of sign language, which didn't really bother me. It's just, I think I was expecting more talking, but it just didn't happen. Like I said, it doesn't really hurt the movie, but just the addition of Bad Ape talking kind of makes you wonder why more aren't talking. It might disappoint a few people, so get ready to read a lot. I mean, Caesar still talks a lot, but there's still tons of sign language from the apes. And, it might bother some people, but for me, it didn't bother me that much. It was just kind of surprising. The plots and themes of this movie are fantastic. The first one is revenge versus mercy. Once again, I mean, this is Caesar's movie, and his revenge plot, going after McCullough, like I said earlier, just the reactions on the CG character's face are so convincing that you buy how sad and angry this character is. And it also goes to the other side too, because McCullough's character is almost on a revenge plot of his own for things I won't talk about. I don't want to spoil it. But I mean, you'll figure it out pretty early in the movie why he's as damaged as he is. And the movie also deals with mercy. Again, I don't want to spoil too much, but just that the revenge versus mercy plot of the whole thing, especially from the character of Caesar, really works. I mentioned earlier the name Koba, who was the ape that turned bad in Dawn. The death of Koba in the last movie does have a huge effect on the plot of this movie, because a lot of Caesar's tribe agreed with Koba, so a lot of the tribe is split. Some are still Koba followers, even though, yes, Koba is dead, and I know they teased kind of at the end of Dawn that he might still be alive. He's not alive, but his death definitely has impact on the story, And as I mentioned earlier, there's dream sequences that deal with Koba and everything. So just the whole idea of Koba and what he stood for, even though he's not here, still has a heavy effect on the characters and on the plot. Much to my surprise, slavery is a big plot in this. There are apes in this movie that have agreed to work for the humans, even though the humans treat them like garbage. And granted, most of the humans in this movie are Makola's men and Makola himself, so it's not like there's tons of other humans. And they call the apes donkeys, and they spray paint donkey on them, and they're slaves. They are slaves, and there's a reason Makola is using some of them as slaves. Again, I don't want to spoil too much, but just the idea that a lot of this movie deals with that. It wasn't a plot I was expecting, because of course it's called War for the Planet of the Apes, and again, the war isn't what you think it is, so I don't really want to say much more, but the movie deals with slavery, and the way it handles it is fantastic. I love what they do with the scenes of captivity, and there's of course it's about slavery, so there's going to be an escape plot and things like that, and there's just the way this movie handles everything. It handles the brutality of slavery. It handles the rise up of people in captivity. All of it handles very well, and it was just a great addition to the plot. Lastly, there's this whole plot line about the evolution of the simian flu. I can't really say much more, but it does play into the plot. And being that, from what I understand, they are going to continue with the series, it'll definitely play into future installments. Much to my surprise, this series just keeps getting better and better. Honestly, I thought it was going to lose steam. I didn't want it to, but I thought it was going to lose steam coming into War for the Planet of the Apes. But thanks to great performances, especially from Andy Serkis as Caesar, who continues to get better and better, this movie is fantastic. If you're a fan of the other two movies, you're going to love this one. If you're not a fan of them, it's not going to do much for you. But for those of us that really love these movies, it is a fantastic addition to the series. As always, thank you so much for watching. What did you think of War for the Planet of the Apes? Feel free to comment on it down in the section below. But remember, it's only just one guy's opinion. I'm Gino Reynolds from The Real Gino. Until next time.